Hello, and welcome to the Gold Doctor podcast. I'm Brandon Gamble, also known as the Gold Doctor, and we'll be taking on in episode 7, the big goals. Again, that's taking on the big goals, like culture and discrimination. Huge goals. So I got some inspiration in a couple of places, and first we'll start with Dr. Viktor Frankl, who was a late psychiatrist who survived the Nazi concentration death camps, really. And he had some deeper insights onto man's search for meaning, which was actually one of the names of his book. And he says here, man or woman's last freedom is his or her freedom to choose how they will react in any given situation. And the next quote is, everything can be taken from a man or woman but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. Before I get into this, I want to send a shout out to Tony Corley. Mr. Corley is the founder of the Black Surfing Association. And I also want to remember our late friend Didon Kamathi, a warrior for justice, a radio host, an avid surfer who was the heart of the Black Surfers Collective. I think of them as I think about what I'm about to share with you. So many people, when I've taught them in courses as teachers or future school counselors or future school psychologists or undergraduates, they've run into a challenge where they want to take on what's in front of them, whatever that may be, but particularly broader societal challenges. And one of those that I've had a chance to research and study along with my students at places where I've taught, like Chapman University and Cal State Long Beach, was this idea of discrimination, right? And so before we get into really breaking down discrimination, I want us to review a bit of what we've gone over so far. Like, this is our next to last episode. So motivation, right? We've really gone over those areas where the 3 indicators of motivation are active choice. And going with those quotes from Viktor Frankl, we're remembering choice is extremely important. Our mental effort, and just being aware of our mental effort and any obstacles or roadblocks to that, and seeking help if we are struggling with our mental effort. And persistence, and being surrounded by folks who can help us persist through. We also talked about locus of control, whether that's an internal locus, right, and to seek out circumstances or people beyond us for help or reasons for hindrances. And sometimes that is a bad thing because we're waiting on others, but sometimes it can be a good thing when we seek help, right? But still, that may be internally motivated to seek within ourselves, but also we seek information necessary to help us solve challenges. A key is to how we see ourselves, and whether we see ourselves as part of a collective or a lone individual, our view of culture is only as good as culture's ability to help us solve problems. I'll say that again. Our view of culture is only as good as culture's ability to help us solve problems. And this is according to the late psychologist, Dr. Amos Wilson. So that brings us more in focus with our goals here, right? Making sure that they're measurable, observable, and doable towards the effort to help us solve problems. So I mentioned we're going to take on some of the bigger challenges, right? What happens if we are discriminated against, personally or as a group, or a combination of both therein, right? I asked my students, and one of the things I found in doing research on their experiences. So I took a look at over 100 students, and they shared with me on a 3x5 card their stories of discrimination and how those played out, but also they shared on the other side stories of overcoming. And I'll tell you what I learned first with the discrimination cycle, because there seemed to be a cycle, and I reconfirmed that with the students in follow-up focus groups. So first, someone experiences a discrimination event, and they're disoriented. They could become numb or highly emotional, which can lead to kind of random actions, which may like to lead to anything getting better, and which leads to some sense of disempowerment, and the discrimination happens again. Sometimes those who are hurt will go on and hurt others. I'll say that again. Sometimes those who are hurt will go on and hurt others. So discrimination, that moment leads to a disorientation, leads to either being numb or highly emotional, random action, and disempowerment. So I was taking a look at one of the Facebook groups I'm in, and it's called the Black Surfers Collective, right? And within the Black Surfers Collective, and when I lived out in California, I was very fortunate to be a part of this group. One of the things that they do is they help people who haven't traditionally gone into the water with free surf lessons. They want to end a discrimination cycle. But as I was looking, I saw an article about a young man and his friend, Brick and Gage. These two guys who are out surfing, young 20-something young men out in the water, two black men, the only two black men in the water on that day, and they had some type of incident. They were at Manhattan Beach, and they were occupying this space that not many people occupy. And on an unusually crowded day, a normal surfing incident of people going for the same wave escalated into an older white man inserting himself in a conversation between Brick and another young white surfer. And Brick and Gage were talking to the younger white surfer, trying to resolve the issue, but this white man inserted himself, and he called Brick the N-word. I'm not going to validate that word right now on air, but yeah, he said this to him, and he said it several times, over 30 times, according to Brick. And he told some other words that they were not welcome, that they're not locals there, and Brick and Gage surf there almost every day for the past 8 months. Another white man tried to tell them and really tried to gaslight them not to make the issue about race. But it had already become about race when they had been called this awful word. So this could have been a discrimination cycle incident, but Brick and Gage know how to overcome discrimination. They made strong goals in the midst of adversity. One of their first goals was to make sure that the young men who they had a conflict with were addressed as young men, not as rivals, not as somebody that they were messing with, but they wanted that respect, and they wanted to pass that respect along. The other goal they made, even before they left the water, was that they were going to resolve this issue. It wasn't just going to stay there. And just hearing them talk, I was very excited myself, and they empowered me. But let me get to the overcoming or the determination cycle, right? So they were oriented. They were oriented in the sense that they went back on Instagram. They had a conversation. But let me go through this cycle first. So determination or overcoming, once you've made a decision that you're going to overcome this thing, right? You connect with like-minded people who can support you. They were confident in passion. And if you see their Instagram video, you see the passion in there. But it's also not random. It's very focused. They developed a plan of action, which led to empowerment. Again, oriented, confident and passionate, plan of action, empowerment. So this anti-gaslight and centered and oriented response, they took to Instagram to confirm. I'm an old man. I'm still learning about Instagram. But they took to confirm that, yes, this did indeed happen, and it was extremely racist. They connected with fellow black surfers and people of color and other allies who would support them. They stayed confident yet passionate, and they really wanted to avoid the stereotype of being this angry, responsive person, and particularly an angry black man was their term. And they mobilized a community of surfers for a peace paddle out. And many other folks helped them do this mobilization, but their initial call out helped with this mobilization. Moreover, they have developed a nonprofit that has blown up to support greater access in many areas of life, but especially activities like surfing or the water sports where there are few black people involved. They empowered others, even another black person who went back to scuba diving as a result of their example because she had felt pushed out of something that she enjoyed. This is incredible to me, to see this overcoming cycle in action. I've presented on it before, I've written about it before, but to see it happening in real time is just incredible. And I enjoyed watching them online. So here's some reminders that you can take with you. Many places around the world, there is a history informing our current reality. Sometimes that bad history may be worth confronting. And in this moment, I was glad they were able to confront this bad mindset that was put upon them, not with the same negative energy and mindset, but with a powerful sense of who they were, right? And where they can go with this. Again, culture helps us solve problems and should be empowering. Whether you're a subculture like surfing, or you have a national culture like America, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Mexico, Ghana, wherever, but that sense that we're able to overcome problems, the big problems even. And we usually should know that we cannot do this alone. Even if individually we feel put upon, we're not alone. And I remember this quote from John Donne, no man is an island and no man or woman stands alone. So the last thing I really want us to remember and remind folks as they go is connect with a group of people who understand the history of overcoming a challenge like discrimination or being the first to attempt something and who will support your efforts to go to college, to attain a job, to start a business, whatever your goal is. Know that there are actually goals that can be made to overcome discrimination, and there's a process. If you'd like to know more about that process, stay with me because I'll talk a little bit more about that as we move into our next season. But we're coming towards the end of this season. I've just been so excited to be able to talk with y'all about. So the next episode will be our last of 8 for this season on goals and motivation. Next season, we will continue on goals, but look forward to interviews with colleagues and experts in the field of goals. That said, do not miss episode 8. We'll be wrapping up and reviewing, but I'm hoping to connect with some of you who have developed some goals, especially as you started the year in 2021. So look out for the Goal Doctor Facebook and IG page coming the second week in March, as well as pages for Dr. Brandon Gamble. And that will all be kind of one title there. And we'll be going live. Look out for announcements on the first week in March in regards to the live stream. And I'm looking forward to share a little bit more of kind of what we're developing and the content we're looking to share with you. Also, if you like overcoming stories, listen to Our Black History, a podcast hosted by my sister, Terry Gamble, and me, with the first 2 guests being our parents. They're retired educators and share keys to overcoming challenges in life. Finally, I am the Goal Doctor, Brandon Gamble. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy each moment in the journey as you continue to reach your goals.